Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm really excited for today's guest because he is not just a real estate agent, but he is also really a celebrity in the real estate agent space. And that is none other than John Shookman, who is the founder of the Real Estate Survival Guide Mastermind and also the Real Estate Survival Guide podcast, which is one of, if not the most popular podcast in the real estate agent space, talking about how to be a successful agent but also teaching agents how to get into social media marketing. So John has actually tripled his income and built a six-figure real estate business in 1 year with some of these strategies. So we're going to have John share a little bit about that and also a little bit about his experience at EXP because we are both Wolfpack brothers here. And there is a special bond between us if you guys have been kind of paying attention to our socials. But John, man, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Kobe, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And man, I gotta say, so guys, just so you know, if you've been listening to this show, like Kobe is like super humble. Kobe's freaking crushing it. And you need to like give Kobe a call. Your brokerage is not going to give you the support that Kobe's going to give you and the help and the training. I actually, Kobe, see, I didn't even warn you. So I actually have an agent out here that I met in New Jersey about an hour and a half from me named Ashley, and she raved about Kobe. And so I was so excited when I got to EXPCon to meet Kobe. And I'm telling you, he's the real deal. He really loves helping new agents, loves serving them, loves connecting with you guys. Um, and what he's built is absolutely impressive. And so if you're listening to this thinking like, is this the real deal? Kobe's the real deal. The Wolfpack's the real deal. And I'm honored to be here. I'm really proud of you, man, and what you've built at early 20s and being able to do it. And I'm excited to be here. So thank you for the time.
Oh man, thank you, man. I did not expect that. So that was we're starting off on a strong note, I would say. But appreciate that, man.
Kobe said he would give me $1 for every nice thing I said. So I'm at $1. We're gonna keep going. Just kidding.
Awesome, man. But John, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself here because you have quite the background in real estate, right? You've got this podcast that's been really successful, and you've had a lot of amazing guests on there as well. But you've also been very successful as an agent as well. So how did these two things kind of come together? What was it that prompted you to really start out and being more of kind of a an influencer and a coach in the real estate space?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate it very much. I think you're too kind and maybe giving me a big head. But what I will say is, I didn't try any of this, right? So if you're out there thinking like, oh, that's so cool that John has 70,000 podcast downloads or whatever it is, right? And all these views on his social, right? I get 100, I think this month it's 135,000 organic reach this month on my social, and I know we'll talk about that later. Here's the deal. If you listen to this and say, how do I do that? You're kind of taking like the backwards approach. I never said, how do I become an influencer? Well, I don't even know what that word means, right? All I knew was I loved real estate and I loved helping people buy and sell because that paid the bills and we can talk about the success there. But what I really learned was I love helping people. It's so interesting, Kobe, now being at the Wolfpack, because the stuff I do for my agents, right? Stuff like this, I was doing already at my previous brokerage. I just wasn't being compensated for it. You guys all know, right? Connor and Mike, you hear those names. I don't think they set out to be like, I want to make $1 million a year or $2 million a year in rev share. It just kind of happened. I interviewed Mike recently and he was like, well, I did it. I released a video. 30 agents joined me month one. 30 agents joined me month two. 30 agents joined me, 20 days into month three. And he realized, holy cow, this is powerful. Mike didn't set out to like teach all of you about social media. He didn't. Mike set out to serve and connect and help. So it's very funny because if you listen to my podcast and go all the way back, what I did unintentionally was set myself up because right now I have this group that you can pay to join or you get it free on my downline. Those are the two options. I didn't set out to do a group. I had a podcast 3 times a week for agents. And those agents reached out to me and said, hey, you keep talking about this guy, Vincent, who leads a mastermind group. We want you to do a mastermind group. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. To the point where two people that are still in my group today, Kobe, they said to me, um, we want you to start a group, and if you don't, we're done listening to your show because you're full of BS. But they didn't say BS. They said it. Yeah, I saw your eyes get big, right? And I'm like, what in the world? And they both, this was in like a week, man. So I would say it's like a God thing or whatever. Like they both said that. And they're like, you tell us, John, on your podcast. Now it was like client based, right? They're like, you tell us to go out and serve people, help people, do hard things. When a client tells you something, like and ask a question, that's content you should produce. And they're like, and you're full of garbage if you don't actually go do it, because a few of us are telling you we want a group to help us on organic social media. And I'm like, oh, dang it. So I literally said to them, fine. It was a Thursday. I'm like, fine. 2 weeks from today, we're having our first call. And we did. And it started as a free group. Then it turned into like, people don't pay and value stuff if they, so it just started like that. And then I talked about it on the podcast, right? Same thing. Like I'm an entrepreneur at heart, like at my old brokerage in terms of the podcast. Like I never tried to like create one of the biggest podcasts for realtors at all. I just wanted to help agents. 89% of them don't last 5 years. And I said, I want to help. And here's the deal, what I want, and we'll get into the EXP thing later, but what I want you guys to think about is, does your brokerage encourage you to help people and serve people and be creative, or do they want you to fit into this stupid little box? My brokerage, this is not a lie, basically said to me, you may not have a podcast. You don't know anything. Direct quote. And I had been licensed about a year. I had probably 5 or 6 deals under my belt. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, even if the only thing I can tell people on the podcast is here's what to do during the licensing, here's what to do during this, here's what to do during that. If that is all, it's still better than what they get out there, which is nothing. And I basically went to my association of realtors and said, I'm doing the podcast. And they said, you're an independent contractor. You can do whatever you want. And basically told the brokerage, uh, go screw yourself, right? And I had to put a disclaimer that it wasn't affiliated with the franchise and the podcast show notes. Nobody watches show notes. So anyway, that's it, man. I just knew I wanted to help and serve agents. And so I know we'll get into the EXP piece later, but you can kind of see how they make so much sense together. Now I get to serve and help agents and love doing it, and not, and not charge them for it. I mean, you could join the group, but if you just join me, you get all that stuff for free. So it's pretty wild, man. God's blessed me so much. I'm super blessed. Yeah. So that's kind of the intro. And now what we've done in terms of the production is I think my biggest deal ever was 7 mil this year. 2024 will be over 10. I get to be home with my kids, which sometimes is awesome. I heard them screaming upstairs at the beginning of this call. Sometimes is not, but my wife is a stay-at-home mom because we've found the financial freedom, and I get to support her as best I can. But I absolutely love it. I love helping agents. I love coming on shows like this with my Wolfpack family. And I know we'll get into it, so I don't want to go too far. But like I did say at the beginning, how like Kobe's the real deal. What you will experience at EXP and the Wolfpack is like family, right? We all care about each other, right? I've had people on my show need to have Kobe on my show, and like we're in separate downlines. We're not like, oh well, no, I'm only doing this if I benefit or make money. No, like we imagine like a 3,000 person family or 2,000 or whatever it is, right? Wherever you're under, and like we just want to serve and help each other, and so it's pretty wild. But I'm very thankful to be here and for the opportunity. It's kind of crazy, but I would just say, to kind of recap that, don't start thinking I want to influence people or I want to do this. I should pull up my analytics, man, because my podcast, probably the first month, I think 20 people listened to it. So it'd be very easy to say no, I'm not going to do it, right? And to just not be interested. But what I find is, when you just seek to serve people, everything works itself out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you mentioned you started your podcast probably around a year after you getting your license, and you had about just like 5 or 6 deals under your belt, right? Because a lot of people think you have to be this mega successful agent before you can start putting out any type of content, but you didn't think like that. You thought there's some people out there who can use my help, and I'm going to start a podcast and I'm going to help these people. Now, unfortunately, your brokerage kind of, previously made it a little bit difficult, which is I've never heard about that before, which is a
Mhm,
little
mhm.
interesting kind of side note there. But talk a little bit about maybe your production journey, right? Because you started out, your first year doing better production than the majority of agents, but you've really scaled that up, and you were using social media to help yourself do that. And then I'm guessing taking those same strategies and then teaching them to agents who are your listeners. but also those who are in your group as well.
Yeah, here's the deal. So I'll kind of, it's like the 1 year success story in like 1 minute, hopefully less than five. But I'll just kind of say like when I became a new agent, everybody's doing all these things. There's, some big brokerages, right? Barbara Corcoran's on all these commercials. We all know agents in our area that they pay her hundreds of thousands of dollars to come on a commercial. I could not compete with that. What I could do was I have a background. I've been in sales my whole life since I was 16, right? So 20 years. And every single job I had, I was really good at sales, really good at marketing. When I got into real estate, I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have absolutely no clue how I'm going to have success with it. And then I had a background, many people don't actually know this, in as a wedding photographer. And anytime I would post a gallery, like, okay, Jim and Sam's wedding is online, I would post it on Facebook. Usually I would get like an inquiry for a wedding, and it was part-time. But I remember being early in my career. This is 2019, 2020. I'm right. So I got licensed out of 2019, didn't do my first deal till April of 2020, won that month, won June of 2025 in August. So really, what I want you guys to also think about is we're listening to this in 2024, 2025. Like, your success journey is not that far, right? You might think it's this massive mountain, but if you start slowly, it can happen. So anyway, 2021, I just started posting on social media, man, because I realized that's free. It's something I can do. You can bring industry experts on, right? Guys, you look at Kobe. Kobe's not in production at all, and he crushes it with agent attraction, right? He does not have to tell you, oh my gosh, this is how I sell a house. He just shows you how to absolutely crush it and connect you to the right people in the wolf pack that will help you sell houses if you want to, right? And but so what I so all the negativity of I'm too young, I'm too stop. It's a bunch of BS. If Kobe can do it at his age and bring almost 100 agents to the company and have success, right? You can do it. You absolutely can do it. But I think a lot of it is mindset, and we learn a lot from Connor's calls, right, within the wolf pack about mindset, and they've been amazing. But I just started posting on social media, man. I really did. And what I noticed was almost every time I would post something, even, and again, people in real estate, I'll tell you what I did: open houses, showings, just kind of share a listing on Facebook, not mine, just someone else's. So let's do a little quiz, right? How much money was I making? And we all know if you're in real estate, the answer is zero, right? Showings, you're not making money until you're at the settlement table. Open houses, every time I shared something like an open house, showing, etc., people were like, wow, man, you're crushing it. I realized this is 2020. I'm broke. I lost my job a year prior. Um, I don't know how we're gonna really pay our mortgage, right? Like really, like probably crying every night like a baby. But anyway, that's another story. That's my therapy trauma I need to go through. But I just started posting. And people, I still remember like spring, summer 2020, fall, people being like, dude, you're crushing it. How are you doing this? Even people I did my real estate courses with. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even making, I mean, I would say not to potential clients, but to these realtors, I'm like, I'm not even making money yet. My first client, I showed them 63 houses. So, bro, it sucked. But guess what? I looked really freaking busy when I was out showing houses multiple times a week with them. So, I would say to you listening to this, anything, no matter what, I don't care if you're looking at 100 homes. How do you turn that negative into a positive? I don't care. I mean, again, I don't want you to do that many homes, but if you as a new agent, I had nothing but time. So instead, every time I was at a showing, right? If you go through my Instagram and scroll back to probably like summer or spring of 2020, you'll see I brought my son to a showing, and he was, I don't know, 6, 7 months old, and he was just laying on the floor. So I posted about like my a little showing assistant today. Anything in your business you can turn into a positive. So then what happens, man, is people are out there. I was talking to somebody actually, Kobe, within the wolf pack recently, and they're like, can we get on a call to talk about your group? And I'm telling him, and it was so funny because he's saying, okay, well, that's really cool what worked for you. I'm going to wait till I have a successful six-figure income, and then I'm going to post on social media. I'm like, did you not just hear the call I led for Mike on Tuesday? I started posting right away. And he was like, that's cool for you. And I was like, you're not a fit. Like, have a nice day. So I wasn't being mean, but what I want you guys to hear is I do not care if you have one deal, zero deals, you're not even licensed yet. You can make a post today that says, "Hey guys, I just want to let you know I'm becoming a realtor and I'm doing the courses right now." Let's just say you're in Houston, Texas, right? And you say, "I'm in Houston, I'm doing the courses, I'll be licensed in like January or February. So if you're looking to buy in 2025," and that rhymes by the way, I didn't even try that, you make a post about it. I remember posting that I was doing the courses and people loved that stuff. So then it was kind of like, imagine an airplane at the runway, bro, right? It's not just if it tries to fly, bro, you're going to crash. What it does is it speeds up on the runway, goes up, starts to get into the sky, and then you're 30,000, 40,000 feet in the air. The 40,000 feet in the air does not happen unless you kind of do the runway. I've often said that like the hardest part for me, I hate flying and you don't know this, but the hardest part for me is takeoff. I'm at the gate thinking about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And I get on the plane and then you're buckled up and all this and you're like, oh my gosh, what could happen? And then it like speeds through the runway and you're like, oh my gosh, what if the brakes don't work? Then you get up into the sky and you're like, oh my gosh. And then really for me, when I fly and then calm down, first of all, I sit towards the front. There's less turbulence in case you don't like flying. And then when I watch them get up to start to bring drinks, even if there's like a little turbulence, if they're just calm, I'm like, we're good. So many people out there are like, they're driving to the airport or they're parking or they're taking the whatever over to the terminal or they're at the terminal at the gate, getting on the plane. All there's like 10 different things that you could stop at any point. And so many of you do. Instead, if you just keep posting and posting, the success will happen. I will make $200,000 this year, and I don't share that to brag. I've been very blessed, and it's all from organic social media, all of it. I don't care Zillow ads. Nope, 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 nope. I don't do it. And Kobe, I think it's very important for realtors to think about, oh, I could do this. I could dance on TikTok. I could do this. There's so many different things. I want you guys to think about this. What is the one platform you are on and comfortable with, and you could make a post in 5 minutes right now? Use that. When you're crushing it on Facebook, if that's your main platform, and for a lot of us it is, and Instagram, and you're crushing it and you got 150,000 views like me, then we can talk about TikTok and whatever. Book a call with me for free. I don't care. Oh, so many realtors, they shift and shift and shift and shift. So it's almost like, well, we're not in the sky yet. We're still going straight up, and I'm scared, so I jump out of the plane. Right? And so I know that was a lot, but that's just how I grew it, man. And it's wild now because almost every single deal comes from organic social media. You on a call, I think a few months ago that I led, and I was showing how I had 10 listings in June and July. And I said, how many of these people do you think I saw in person in the last 5 years before they listed their home, the 10 listings? People were like seven, eight, whatever, and it was one. And the only reason it was one is because right over there, it was my neighbor and they saw me outside and knew I was a realtor. Other than that, it's all from organic social media, man. People that were at my wedding that just follow me on social media. It's absolutely wild. And so many realtors do not see the potential.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up about choosing different platforms. 'Cause I think that's the biggest question a lot of agents have is like, which platform should I be using? Is it TikTok, Instagram, Facebook? And I really like what you said there because that's the same advice I give to agents, which is, just pick the one that you use as a consumer because you're familiar with it. This is the reason why I do podcasts because I listen to a lot of podcasts. So I understand how like the conversation flow works. I know when people listen to podcasts and different things like that as
Hmm.
well, because I listen to it all the time. So, that's, I think, a very good piece of advice is if you're using a certain social media platform as a consumer that you're consuming content on, then you should probably use that as your marketing platform as well. But, the other thing I get a lot of is new agents coming into the industry who have never had social media before. They're just now setting up their social media platforms. Do you have any advice for people like that, maybe that don't have a following? Maybe it's like, and even this is where I was at when I first got my license as well. I never had a Facebook account before I even got my license. But what would you say to people like that who was like, I'm just setting up my social media accounts now and I'm doing this for business purposes because I just got licensed and I know this is what I need to do.
Yeah. I would say with is connect with people as fast as humanly possible. The best thing you can do is really add 10 people a day, and max out at 5,000 friends. So think about it. So anytime, Kobe, that somebody joins me or whatever, in my downline or at the wolf pack, or someone sees me on a call, I usually have to go back and delete people. But people can now, I'm in creator mode, they can follow me. What I would say is, what you'll find is you don't know the people that will find you and connect with you. I just spoke to a friend of mine that I knew when I was like 17 or 18. We did homeschool debate together. I know I'm a nerd. Don't judge me, guys. And we've spoken once in the last 10 years. And he actually said, hey, I just actually, I'll put it this way. He applied for a job within EXP's back office. Well, guess what? He literally said, I said earlier, he's like, hey, I have a question for you. Let me know when you're available. And I said, I'm on a call. And he goes, oh, a Wolfpack call? And he knows. You see, I like live, breathe Wolfpack, man. I got the gear, I got the shirt. I made Kobe not start the call till I got my hat. But I have the gear. I kind of live it. It's like, and it makes it a lot easier to connect with people. So here's the thing too. If you're thinking about coming to EXP, and you probably are, if you're following this and watch Kobe, you've got two amazing ways to build your business. I do not care who your friends are. Connect with people at your church, mom's group, dad's thing, fellow Phillies fans, Astros fans, what, like, I don't care who the people are, connect with them. That people you may know feature on Facebook is amazing. Add those people, right? They usually have mutual connections, right? I added Kobe and he had never met me in person. Like, we knew of each other from Wolfpack stuff. Like, and if he would have denied me, okay, like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, Kobe denied me, right? And so I would say the faster you grow your audience, the better, right? And I would also say, if you think about the Wolfpack, people are like, well, someone on my call on Monday a couple weeks ago was like, well, I don't want to be friends with agents. I'm like, why not? Like, you are at a brokerage that rewards you in incredible ways for if an agent follows you. And by the way, my downline is growing so fast. All those people are connecting me with me on organic social media, right? So my advice is just start doing it. Add 10 people. If you go through your people you may know, you'll be like, oh yeah, I went to high school with them. Oh yeah. Go back to what I said about my deals this year. So many of them I have not seen in person in so long. So I don't care if it's Sarah from when you went to college 15 or 20 years ago. I know I'm aging myself here, Kobe. I don't care if it's Sarah you went to college with 15 years ago, maybe 5 for some of us, right? I don't care who it is. It is a way to have success is by connecting with people. I would also think about, a lot of people get hung up in the Facebook thing because they're like, well, I'm not really friends with that person. I would think about, like, I don't call them friends, I call them connections, right? And so mutual connections, right? Someone might watch this and friend me, and I see that they're a mutual connection with Kobe, and I accept the request. Um, I would say no matter where you're at in your journey, you can do it. I don't care if you're a new agent who's 18 years old or you got into real estate like me at 31 or whatever it was, you can do it. Or, I mean, and again, Kobe can share with you the success stories. Look at what Kobe's done as a younger agent, right? Look at what Noah Ward in our group in Florida is doing. Um, there is always an excuse, and the people that have really have success like make moves, not make excuses, right? And so there's always someone out there that will say, no, it's too hard. Do you want to be an amazing agent like Kobe, grow your business like him or myself? Then you'll say, I'm just going to do it. I don't care if it's hard. I'm willing to work.
Yeah, exactly. There's no excuse for actually trying. So, or there's no replacement for actually trying. And a lot of people just stop trying, I think. They post something on social media and then they stop posting. And then they blame the platform or they blame, whatever, aside from themselves. So one of the other things that I was thinking that you could probably touch on is just the style of posting that you're doing, right? Because you're not doing, like you mentioned, a lot of TikTok videos. And this is not like, I'm not offending you by saying this, but they're not like high production content, right? You're not putting out content where it looks like somebody has like a whole production team behind it, putting everything together, especially on Facebook, right? Because a lot of it is just text or picture and text. Now, you obviously work up to that,
Hmm.
eventually, or you try to work up to that. But what are some of your best strategies for getting posts that will actually engage but also convert?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so funny, Kobe, because we talked about this at EXP Con. People there's a lot of FOMO out there, right? So
Hmm.
when we got to share on social media about the yacht that Connor took us all on, there's FOMO there. And I had agents at EXP or not at EXP kind of say to me, like, hey, tell me about the yacht. And I got to share that. One of the strategies you and I talked about was just a screenshot of my rev share. And guess what? When I share a screenshot of my rev share and you see that my rev share last month was $3,000, and that's from, I think, 4 agents sold homes because I got a lot of newer agents that are still gearing up, there's something that's like, you kind of turn your head and you're like, wait a second, tell me about that. Right? There is. And so I share the success I share. Guess what? Tomorrow night, when we're on a Wolfpack call with Mike Sherrard and I share a screenshot of that, there's FOMO from people being like, wait, what? You're on with Mike Sherrard? He has 105,000 YouTube followers? Yeah, there's FOMO in that. Right. And so I think it's it's really just sharing your life, sharing your journey. It's very funny because when I started producing, um, a lot of my production came from I was partnered with a lender and we did Mortgage Mondays. Every Monday we went Facebook Live. And Kobe, I didn't know a darn thing about anything. I was like, "Oh, hey, person, I don't have a working relationship anymore, so I won't name them, but I'm like, "Oh, hey, lender, what's going on today?" And he's like, "This." I'm like, "Cool." We would get on and talk about it. I looked like a freaking expert on mortgages because I had an expert on my platform, right? So when I interviewed Mike Sherrard a few weeks ago, and I get to share that on my podcast and some clips of that on social media, I'm gonna look like a freaking genius, guys. I don't know how to get you to 105,000 subscribers on YouTube because I haven't done it, but connect with experts. I do, if you got licensed today and joined Kobe, or you're thinking about joining Kobe, have Kobe on your stuff. Like find experts around you and highlight them. It leads to success. The other thing too is I don't take myself too seriously. I don't, right? Um, I shared something. I don't, I can't think of an example offhand, but I just share. Okay, a couple weeks ago, I shared like I saw people buying the new iPhone, and I'm like, if you have less than $1,000 in the bank, you don't need a new iPhone, bro. The people went nuts, and it's engaging. I did not plan on that, and I had to block a few idiots that argued with me about being privileged and all that. But I will say I do not overthink anything. If you look at my last post today, I had a under contract for a seller, and I had a screenshot of our Monday calls from the last two calls. Like it literally is not that hard, right? And so I would just say, just start posting. I will say, and we've got experts in ChatGPT in our group. I don't want to speak for them. If you go into ChatGPT, first of all, I used to be the biggest ChatGPT hater, and I was like, I don't want it writing my content. And then I learned I don't use it like you probably should. I'm using it at like 1% capacity. But with that 1% capacity, I can go in there and say, hey, I'm a Phillies fan. I drive a Tesla, blah, blah, blah. I'm at the Wolfpack, all these different things. And if you could talk for 10 minutes about yourself, hobbies, interests, whatever. I'm still giving ChatGPT the content. And then it's telling me, go make a post about this, go make a post about this. Um, and so I was probably the last adapter of AI, and I don't even use it well. It's funny, Adam in our group, we want to call, and I'm like, look, I know I don't even use this like you do, but even a small portion, there's content out the wazoo, right? Kobe and I could screenshot this and say we're on a podcast. Any call you're on with industry experts, screenshot it. Anytime you're at a showing, post it. Um, but what I will also say, Kobe, because as you asked about social media and kind of a strategy there, I talk to dozens of realtors every week, right? One on one, and they'll say, I want to make 100 grand this coming year. I want to sell, one has said, I want to do 3.5 million, this many transactions and this much volume, 108,000 or whatever it was. And the volume was exactly 3% of the sales volume. So whatever it was. Um, and I got on a call with him and asked him about his social media strategy. And he goes, oh, I don't know. I find that so many of you out there, you have this strategy for this much production and this much sales and this much whatever. Then I ask you about social media and you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. You need a strategy. You need a strategy, right? You could record a 10-minute video about why you're a realtor and what you enjoy about real estate, pop that into Opus Clip for 50 cents, and it can produce videos for you. So I'll just kind of summarize it by saying you are all overthinking it. Chill. Just post what comes natural. And if that, and I'll challenge people too, Kobe. I post every single day, multiple times a day. I will have realtors that will say, well, I don't get the views and analytics like you do. Well, you're not connected with enough people. I'm maxed out at 5,000 friends or thereabouts, right? And I post every day. Like I said, I'm a huge Phillies fan. You know, I noticed something last year, and I might have shared this on a Wolfpack call, which is when I go down to Philly spring training, I just booked tickets today to go in March. Um, I see them like practicing running the bases, right? And if you don't like baseball, just bear with me. But you run 90 feet to first base, and I'm like, I remember being there a year ago, 2 years ago, and saying to my wife, like, why are they like running the bases? They know how to run the freaking bases. You go first, second, third, home. It's pretty simple, right? And what I realized was they're going around first base trying to take a little bit of it, a little edge off, a little bit, go a little faster. Might be the difference between a single and a double if it bounces off the outfield wall, or like second to home on a single. And I realized they do this every freaking day. They will get there at the end of February. And then their season, if you go to the World Series, goes through like early November. Man, that's what, 8, 9 months, I can't do math, of your year. And they do it every freaking day. Imagine if you guys had the dedication to your social media like baseball players or football players or NHL players do to their craft when they're practicing every day, right? I post every freaking day and my analytics are through the roof. You're like, well, I posted once this week. I don't know why anyone's not buying a house. It's because you are not telling them enough that you are a realtor. So I know that was long, but I really run the bases every day, run the bases every freaking day.
Yeah, that's so important, right? Just practicing. And you mentioned that. That's a great analogy, I think. Practicing running the bases, because for somebody who's a baseball fan, or maybe they're not, that's like the most simple thing that anybody can do. But you never know what that little edge can give you as far as, in business, that could be a huge launching point for your business, right? And consistency matters. And I love that you said not to overthink it, because the more authentic that your content is, the more engagement you're actually going to get, because you're not pretending to be somebody that you're not and
Mhm.
posting stuff that just seems robotic, generic, which the majority of agents who are using social media are actually doing that, which is pretty interesting as well. Now, you're
Mhm.
also a very successful podcast host. So, what is your take on people starting podcasts? Is that something you think people should be doing? Obviously, having a podcast, like you just mentioned, you could have guests on that know more about certain subjects than yourself and actually make yourself look better. But, as an agent, if you're trying to get in front of buyers or sellers, or if you're building a
Mhm.
team and trying to get in front of agents, would you say starting a podcast is actually a good place to start posting content, because you can get so much of a variety and also get more exposure into different audiences?
I would say if you're telling me, hey, I want to grow my business either on the production side or agent attraction or team, I would say production is a long-term labor of love, right? Now I get a couple thousand downloads a month, right? But how, if you ask me like, so I'll just say it this way. If you say to me, John, based on the people that have either joined your downline at EXP or come to your membership, what percentage of them came from the podcast? I would say less than 10%. I would say if you're smart, you are taking your video content, right? Like we're recording now, it's going on a YouTube clip or video, and it's going into audio form. What I have realized and learned is podcast listeners, here's the deal. There's a lot of people that are not going to watch YouTube in the car, like they probably shouldn't be. Some do it, right? But if you say, "Hey, I'm also releasing this on Spotify," they can go and, maybe you're like, hey, how to buy a house in 2025, and you release a series of podcasts, you could also put it in audio form. I would say I would not, I invested in a podcast because I loved it and I thought I had a face for radio, which I do. Um, it was a long time to pay off. It was a long time, right? I had someone message me last week like, "Hey, I love your podcast. I've seen you. I've seen Jeremy Kane. I'm coming to EXP. I just want to let you guys know." That's been one or two people that have directly come from the podcast and said, "I'm following you." Um, but I would say it's a great evergreen thing. So I was trying to look at my analytics earlier. I still have stuff out there that like I posted 3 years ago, put the effort in then, that people can find now. And I think my podcast will help me for years and years, um, with my business and growing both the agent attraction side and also the production side. Um, and I don't know what it will do, but it was a lot of work. Here's what I would say: if you consider it, you need to have limits on yourself. So when I do a podcast interview, like let's say Kobe's on the show and it's 40 minutes long, I used to um I used to like sit there and edit it myself. And I would spend, so maybe this, right, we're at 39 minutes here, so maybe it's 35, 40 minutes, whatever. I would spend like 3 hours editing it. So if you're going to edit it yourself, which you probably will do on the front end with like, income and not wanting to spend money, you've got to have a limit of like double the episode length is how long you edit. Because I had 30-minute interviews or whatever, and it would be 3 hours. So if it's a 30-minute interview, you've got 60 minutes. So you better not spend 20 minutes on the first 5 minutes editing and all this and whatever. You better finish, right? And so that's actually why I don't edit my show anymore, because I was a perfectionist, right? And oh my gosh, Kobe, you should go and find it. I'm pretty sure my first podcast interview or my first episode had no breaks for breathing, like that. It literally was like, okay, and I'm John, and this, and it was like a 10-minute run on sentence, because I'm like, oh, there's a gap, edit that out. There needs to be a natural pause, like I just had, in when you're talking. And I'm someone like, even on the show, I get excitable, so I talk fast. There needs to be like some natural pauses there. So I would say you probably should hire it out. I know people that do it for like $1 or $1.50 per raw minute. So it's not the cheapest thing. I think a lot of agents, and again, no matter what, you're probably starting with money. Now you could get a mic. My mic was $70. I've never had to upgrade it. I just use the basic one and it works. Um, so you can kind of increase the production over time. But I would say it has to be a labor of love if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's the reality of having a podcast. It's a long-term game, but the content that you have is very evergreen, and you can create a lot more content, in my opinion, with an interview than you could if you were doing it yourself. Because I mean, like just for example, this episode is going to be at least 7 reels, which
Yep.
will also go on YouTube Shorts as well, and
Yep.
then also a full-length video, and of course Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find this if you're listening to this on either of those platforms as well. And I mean, you just look at people like Joe Rogan, right, who has a podcast. He doesn't really edit his show either. They go on for 3 hours, 4 hours, depending on who the guest is. And that's what I realized as well. I think podcasting is great for creating content, for me at least, because
Hmm.
I'm like you. I actually don't edit these episodes. These are
Hmm.
full episodes. So what
Hmm.
you have is exactly what these interviews consist of. So I think that's going to be a big plus as well, because you don't have to go in and you don't have to hire somebody unless you're further down the line,
Yep.
have some income coming in. You can really kind of ramp up the show that way as
Hmm.
well. So, but John, man, I think we can wrap up with this, and we've been talking here and there about this throughout the episode as well, and that is your decision to come over to EXP and have as much success as you have had with the Wolfpack, and also growing your organization as well. So, tell us a little bit about that. Maybe did you have any trepidation? Did you have any thoughts about EXP before coming over? What was kind of the difference if you did?
Hmm.
And the just the success that you've had here, because you have had a lot of success, especially in growing your organization here with the revenue share model.
Yeah. So it's so funny because every time I talk to agent, I love there's two questions that they will give me. And one is, well, I need like a desk in a physical office. And they will say that. And then they will say, well, I need like someone local to teach me. You're in Pennsylvania. Like I've been talking to some agents in Florida. You're not even near me. And I love those questions because it was two reservations I had. And when I looked at the numbers, like Really looked at the numbers. Kobe, how about this? I'll let you guess. So in my business at my previous brokerage, how many clients do you think met me at the office? Well, here we'll say it was probably 40 deals over 2 years. How many of them do you think our initial meeting was at the office?
I'm gonna have to say closer to zero than it was to 40.
The answer is one. And the only reason we met at my office is because they lived kind of like how the seller across the street is the only one I've seen in the last 5 years. He lived across the street. They lived right behind my office and said, "Oh, well, I'll just come to your office. You're right there." So here's the deal, guys. This reservation is like the biggest bunch of bullcrap I've ever heard. And I had it, so I can say that. Um, if you have a client, okay, let's say I live in Lancaster, PA, and my client is in Reading, and that's where I grew up. It's about 35 minutes. And so let's say my client is Joe. That's my dad's name. He lives in Reading. All right. So Joe's wanting to sell his house. And Joe calls me and I say, "Cool, let's meet." Am I telling him to come to my office in Lancaster, or am I saying, "Hey, Joe," like, and with a seller, you're probably meeting at their house the first time or whatever. But let's just say it's a buyer, right? I'm probably saying, "Hey, Joe, I can come down there. Do you want to meet at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or Chick-fil-A? What works for you?" Or is he going to say, "No, I'm going to come 30 minutes to your office"? It's the biggest bunch of baloney ever. No one's coming to your office. And so that was a reservation I had that quickly got squashed. Um, the other the other part of it was I had reservation. Man, when you're with these these big box brokerages, which like the big maroon sign, the big red sign, the big black sign, we know them all, right? They will convince you and brainwash you that you cannot sell any houses without them. And they do that intentionally, by the way. If you're listening to this and you're like, "I'm never leaving X, Y, and Z," and we all know the big ones, right? Um, it's a bunch of baloney, and they want you there, and they don't want you to leave, so they try to convince you. I came over and I did more production ever than I ever did. 2023 was my first year. I did more production. I think it was 7 million, 6 or 7. I keep forgetting. This year I'll do north of 10, almost 11. And so it's just a bunch of baloney. And guess what? No one cares what brokerage you're at. No one cares. Your sellers and buyers do not care if you're at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. They don't care. Realty. They do not care. Because when I made the switch and I said to my buyers that I was coming over, well, first of all, I'd I'd a really, my wife's family and me, I remember last January, so almost 2 years ago now, we're at my brother-in-law's cabin, and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about making this shift." My brother-in-law had such a great question, which is like, he said, "How many of your clients would you lose if you left big box brand and went to EXP?" So I said, "I don't know." And he said, "I would run the math before you do it. 40 deals, I would have lost one." And it was some old grandma that called the office and said, "I really want to work with this agency, blah, blah, blah." Okay. I love you, grandma, whatever your name was, whoever she was. Hope you're alive and still well. So it was the only one, Kobe. Sorry, I just derailed this. And now I'm talking about someone that might be dead. But it was the only one, Kobe. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't need to do that. And then so here's the deal. What you don't know is you don't know how your business will grow. You agents listening to this, think about like, well, Kobe's here and I'm here. And what about what will happen if it doesn't work out? Well, guess what? Let me tell you, your other brokerage will take you back in 6 months if it doesn't work out. But what you will find is how powerful and life-changing EXP is, how our Wolfpack family, really family, like cares about each other, values each other, right? I, I'm not under Kobe's downline or under, and I'm here to help, right? We actually like really love agents and want to help. We're like, people can come in, I don't care, call me, I'll help you, right? But I know Kobe's a great support. So it's just so funny because all these reservations, now that I'm here, we're like, you idiot. Like, why would you ever make a reservation based on that? Um, what I've found is your sponsor is so important. You guys, as you listen to this, you have one of the best in the world in Kobe. Oh, by the way, while most of us are like trying to breathe because we're out selling houses, Kobe's home and Kobe, I mean, I'm sure you have meetings and stuff, but like Kobe's there to support you and help you and encourage you and connect you with people, right? My mentor, my sponsor, Jeremy, freaking rock star, man. 125, 130 agents you would never know because he'll reach out, he'll check in. And so I think those are some reservations. And then the opposite is just going to show you. But what I've learned is that the wolf pack really cares. I remember coming in being like, Oh, I'm gonna be like a small fish in a big pond. No one's gonna ever notice me. Mike O'Connor's not gonna notice me. And I still remember being there about 5 months. And Mike sent me a text saying, "Can you lead a call?" And me being like, "What? Mike Sherrard? I don't even. Do you even know who? How do you know who I am?" And so this is the kind of first of all, this is the kind of stuff that happens when you show up, Kobe. So if you listen to this and you join Kobe, which would be the best decision you've ever made in your life, well, show up to the calls. He'll get you connected. You show up. You get on video. You serve. You connect. You help as you can. You ask questions. One of the things people will know about me, and it was even funny in the intro because I don't think I'm anyone special. Jeremy taught me show up to the calls. So I do. People know me. Well, guess what? I get all the referrals in Lancaster, PA, bro, because people know me. And so if you sit there and you just turn your camera off and you hide and you're playing Candy Crush on your phone during the call, first of all, you're not learning. And second of all, you're not going to grow and no one's going to know you. So I hope that like that's a couple reservations I had in terms of the physical office, the training, the support, and it's I've been blown out of the water. And even the referral network in EXP workplace, man, like we get X. So anyway, I'll shut up because I could go on for hours about all the reservations I had that were absolute BS. But I hope that helps, and I really hope it helps your audience.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think, thank you for sharing that because you've had one of the coolest stories here for sure. Having your audience of real estate agents with your podcast and then leveraging that to grow such a great organization as well. You're always active in the calls. I can definitely back that up. You're always there. Even, sometimes when you have family, right? You have to, dad duty. I heard one time you said, on
Yeah,
those
yeah.
calls. But you're always present, and that's what is so important about plugging in and having success here with our group and also with EXP as well. But John, man, appreciate you being on the show. Do you want to have a chance to kind of leave a little bit as far as what people can reach out to you on? What are some
Yeah.
of the places they can find you? How can people actually listen to your podcast or
Mhm.
maybe join your mastermind group as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can just Google me, John Shookman. You're gonna have no idea how to spell that. So it's SCHUCHMAN. You can reach out on social media. Facebook is like Facebook and Instagram are my top plot platforms in that order. The podcast is the Real Estate Survival Guide. You can Google it. You'll find my face. So it's out on Apple, Spotify, all the things. And if agents have questions, here's the deal. First, go join Kobe. That's what you need to do. And if you have questions about social media, message me there. You can text me 610 568 4651, and I'll get back to you. I want to help. I love helping. Um, yeah, but I appreciate and yeah, then my group, we meet Mondays. We have a weekly call, and what we've really found is that people need social media help. What I tried to do was create like a low budget, affordable option, 57 bucks a month, and you get all these calls for social media, the recordings, the private Facebook community. But seriously, like don't even go buy that. Like, well, it might be a fit one day, but like if you need help, just text me. I was gonna say email me, but don't email me because I don't check my email. But you can text me, reach out on social media. But before you reach out to me, you need to join Kobe's downline and name him as your sponsor. Leave your dumb brokerage and come to EXP.
I appreciate that, man. We'll make sure to leave all of that in the description of the video down below as well so people can find it. But John, appreciate you being here. Before we let you go, do you have any last pieces of advice, any last pieces of wisdom you want to leave with us before we let you sign off?
Well, I already said it, join Kobe. But no, I just think, man, I've seen it all. I've seen every story. I've seen people with tons of money, people that are broke, people that are 70 years old, and people that are 20. Anyone can have success in real estate. Again, whether it's production or agent attraction, anyone can do it. Um, and the only difference between the people that are doing it and the people that aren't is the people that are showing up to these amazing calls that we get access to, connecting with someone like Kobe. And that is the difference, right? Yes, you listening to this, even if you're completely depressed and feel like you have nowhere to turn, you have the skills to make it. When you make a great decision and join Kobe, I would say, like, he's going to do his best to reach out to you, but check in anytime you need something. Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. One of the important parts about your sponsor is we love our agents, but I feel, Kobe, you agree with me. Like, sometimes we don't know how to help because we're like, how can I help you? How can I help? And you don't respond. So, like, please reach out. Kobe wants to help you. Um, and there are ways to create success in this business. There's amazing ways to do it. and you can do it. I don't care if you're 20, 90, whatever, you can create success. You just have to put in the effort.
Yeah, absolutely, John. That's some great advice. Appreciate you. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you on the next show. Take
Thanks, bro.
care.
See you guys.